Hi, folks. Welcome back. My name is Jeremy. This is End of the World Gaming. Today we are talking about the Orcs of Branochord. Um, what can I say about orcs? In Confrontation, you have pretty much the standard style of orc. Um, kind of complete with the vaguely Tolkien-esque background. They were created as a slave race. Then they broke free, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna be our own people." They are a force of destiny. So unlike their creators, the alchemists of Durs, who were a force of darkness, um, the orcs are like, "Nah, we're going our own way. Go orc." Um, Now, there are two factions of orcs. There's the Orcs of Branochord, which were the original faction of orcs, and then there's the orcs of the tribe of Behemoth. The tribe of the Behemoth are chunkier orcs. They're I think what ended up being more kind of like the more visually memorable orcs. Um, and I do have some of those, but I decided to go with the Orcs of Branochord just because I think they I don't know. I like traditional orcs. What can I say? At any rate, so whereas Wolfen have Born Killer as their kind of army wide rule, and the Alchemists of Durs have mutagenic as their army wide rule. Most of the orcs have an ability called Brutal, and what Brutal does is their attack rolls explode on fives instead of just on sixes. So on a five or six, their attack roll explodes, which is super useful because it means that you have the chance to hit that much harder. Um, so let's get started. First off, I want to say thank you very much to Chris at Bearded Dwarf Studios. Chris was kind enough to paint all of these guys up for me, and I was really pleased with how they turned out. Check him out. I've got his link in the description below, so you can take a look at his stuff and say, hey, I got to see if I can get me some of that. I think Chris did a really great job, and his rates are really reasonable. All right, so first off, after that plug is out of the way, I've got the leader for the force. I'm putting him up on screen right now. He is Rontok. Now, yeah, you can see that his club kind of broke. The models are 20 years old, so the pewter's not as strong as it used to be. I fixed it. It's not a great fix, but it was better than sourcing another box set for this guy. So he actually came out of the Orc War Staff box set. So he is the character, and I dig kind of the big screamy mouth. He's like, "Rah!" And I like the weird metal claw and the club. Stat wise, he is speed 10. Um, Again, pretty standard speed. He's initiative 4, which is it's solid. It's not great. It's not bad. He is attack 6, strength 8. So strength 8 is solid, but the attack 6 on a 60-point character is really good. That means that again, that in most cases against most other opponents, you're looking probably at +2, maybe even +3 on their defense. So you're going to be sinking in hits if the dice don't go terrible for you. He's defense 5, which is again a really solid stat, and he's resilience 8, which is not great, but it's not super tanky, but it's also not paper thin armor. So I think that set of profiles is really standard for where you're at for orcs for characters. So I think it's really solid. He is courage 6, so he's not unshakable, but he's also not going to be not going to be easy to scare off the table. He's discipline 4. Again, discipline on that is not it's not a great number. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna we've seen with Thyssenkopf from Durs who had an 8. Phidias de Bosserock for the Griffin list had a 6. I haven't actually posted the Griffin list yet, so I'm there you go. Spoilers. All right. So at any rate, his equipment pretty standard stuff. He's got a leadership 10. So it's not a huge bubble, but I mean again, he's a 62-point character, so he's handing out his 6 courage, which is okay. And then he's brutal. So, like I said, his attack rolls explode on fives instead of just on sixes. I like him for 62 points. He's a regular orc champion. Can't complain for that point cost. Next up, I'm going to show one of my favorites. These guys are actually what got me buying Rackham's Orcs first off, and it's the Amok Slayers. Now, I don't know why, but I dig these guys with their balls, and that sounded wrong. They've got a ball and chain, which is just it a ball and chain. I don't know if you've ever actually watched medieval combat or anything like that. The ball and chain is the weapon of not only do I hate you, I'm gonna ugly you up before I send you home to mama. Um, and I think that's one of those weapons that you don't see a lot of in miniatures games, and I've always vaguely kind of wondered why. But these guys have them. And then they've also got, just in this case, he's got that giant ass sword. So he's looking to carve somebody up. So let me just go ahead and flip these guys around. Now, I know that some of you are like, wow, this is a really kind of color neutral scheme on these orcs. And yeah, it is. I wanted these guys to be a little bit more muted, which is why I asked Chris to go with kind of earth tones on them. I think that the Droon are a little bit. The Droon are probably at the higher end of punk rock with the weird pink and purple on them. So I wanted to have the orcs be a little bit more grounded and be a little bit more reasonably colored rather. All right, so the Amok Slayer. He is speed 12.5, so he's a little bit faster than your average human. Initiative 3, so he's going to be on the lower end. He is attack 5, strength 9. Again, strength 9 is really solid. We're going to get into that in just a second. He is defense 5 and resilience 9, which again those are solid defensive stats. He is courage 5, which is not great, but it's not terrible either. And he is discipline 3. So these are not great tactical thinkers. So the equipment, he's got the Sihar blade, which is this giant thing right here. Yeah. And then he's got the Amok flail, which again, like I said, one of the selling points for that guy visually for me. All right, so his abilities, he's got brutal. We talked about brutal before. He's got war fury. If this is not your first video, you've heard me extol the virtues of war fury many times before. And then he's got a great ability called Master Strike. So when he makes an attack, if he has multiple dice in attack, he can combine two of those and then make just a super strong attack. So if he's got War Fury up, he can make one Master Strike attack and then make one additional attack. So the great thing about Master Strike is that if he makes a Master Strike attack, he goes from and it sinks through. It goes from being a strength 9 to a strength 14. So that's kind of a big deal. So when he hits somebody with a Master Strike, they're gonna feel it, and they're probably gonna say, "Ow, this really hurts." He is Master Strike 0, so he's not adding any additional points to that. So it's just his attack stat gets added to the strength of the hit when he makes a Master Strike. But again, for 37 points, I think he's a really solid profile, and I think he's a really cool model. All right, so next up, we've got the Jackal Warriors. Let me get these guys on screen. There's two of these guys on screen. These are the Jackal Warriors with clubs. So this guy, again, it's really kind of just classic orkiness. He's got the green skin. He's got the beard. He's got just that big old mallet, and then he's got the hook for a hand. That's one of the guys. So there's two of these guys on the card, and then I'm going to put the second guy up on screen right now. And again, he's got just that big, fearsome looking maul, which I dig. It's kind of like the cavalry hammer. It's got the point on the other end, so he's knocking dudes down off their horses and just finishing them off. I like this guy a lot. He's got he's got the spiky gauntlet and just the cool the cool plates on his armor. Let me see if I can get a better shot there. Yeah, there we go. So I think this is just this is another really neat looking model. Um, so let's talk about what their stats are. Um, Speed 10, average human stat, initiative 2. Uh, they're slow. That's it. That's all I got. They are attack 5, strength 9, which is again, that's a solid profile for a trooper. Defense 5, which is good. It's not great. Resilience 6, which is a little bit on the low side. But again, for 23 points each, you know, defense 5, resilience 6. I can't complain about that. I might gripe about it, but defense 5, if I'm really worried, I can put dice into defense and just be like, well, I will rely on his ridiculously, on his high defense to carry him through. Courage 4, which is not great, but they've got an ability to kind of backstop their relatively low courage, and discipline 3. All right, 3 discipline, they're orcs. What do you want? Okay, so equipment, he's got the two-handed mace, reinforced leather armor. Again, all of the benefits for that are already figured into his stat line. Now abilities, he's got brutal again. So their attack rolls explode on 5s. Now fanaticism. You remember when I was like, courage 4, meh. So with fanaticism, in the event that they are charged by a fear-causing enemy, and they flub their roll. So say somebody who's fear 6 charges them, and they're like, I rolled a 1. Wah wah. Normally, that'd be bad, but because they've got fanaticism, they have they get to make a second roll, so they're not necessarily routing. That roll problem is they're still testing against the fear of whatever caused it, but instead they're using their discipline, which is admittedly a point lower than their courage, but again, it's a great ability to backstop it in the event that you were like, oh man, I need anything buts, and I rolled a 1. So having fanaticism lets you backstop that. It lets you kind of tutor the dice a little bit, which can always be helpful. Dice are a thing that happens. So there's 2 of these guys on the card for 23 points each. I dig them. I think they're visually cool models. They are very much traditional orc looking models. All right, and then we've got the big guy for this faction. We've got our Brontops Rider. Check this guy out. Again, I really dig how these guys look as just cavalry models. These are very big, chunky beasts that these guys are riding on. And I think Chris did a great job on this. I'm really happy with how they turned out. All right, so we've got the Brontops Rider. Brontops Rider is speed 15, so he's pretty quick. He's as fast as most Wolfen. He's obviously faster than most of your humanoid troops. Initiative 3, which is, again, it's nothing to write home about. Nobody's gonna be like, oh man, Initiative 3. What are you gonna do? He is attack 5, strength 9, with an asterisk. He is defense 5, resilience 10. So this dude is pretty tanky. He doesn't have anything beyond the resilience to keep him in the fight, but resilience 10 is, again, still pretty tanky. He is courage 6, which is a pretty good number. And then he is discipline 3. Again, orcs, what are you going to do? All right, so the Brontops gives him an ability. So when he charges a model, he goes to strength 12. Uh-oh. Suddenly that 9 becomes much more impressive. Because he has brutal, because he's an orc. He's got brutish charge, which means that when he charges, he gets an additional die. So instead of having 2 dice when he charges, he goes up to 3. Also, because he's on the big old square base, the Brontops base, as it were, he's going to have a higher unit strength than almost everything. So in order to inflict the charge penalty on him, you're either going to have to get 2 human-sized models in on him, or you're going to have to get an equal sized model in on him. Good news, he's the biggest guy so far in the factions that we're putting on the table for this. So it's gonna be super tough to inflict charge penalties on him. But sorry, so he's got brutal, he's got brutish charge, he's got implacable 2. Implacable 2 when he completes a combat. If he follows up into an unresolved combat, or if he follows up into a model who's not engaged, he can fight. Which 7.5 centimeter follow up, it's not bad. So if your opponent has stuff where he's got models that are backed off a little bit, and this guy's busting through lines, he can do some damage in subsequent fights. And then he rounds it out with Bravery. I believe we've already talked about Bravery, haven't we? We have not. So Bravery, ones aren't failures on courage tests. So again, with a courage of 6, there's not a ton of stuff out there that he's going to be like really scared of, but Bravery keeps him in the fight. Now with the Brontops Riders, Brontops Riders are only ever bound 1 to a card, so you're only going to have one of these guys per card, which again for this doesn't make a big deal, but it's just it's a neat fact. So he comes in at 54 points, and I dig him. All right, so that is the Orcs, and hopefully pretty soon you guys will get to see a couple of battle reports posted up. Once again, thank you very much to Chris from Bearded Dwarf Studios for painting these guys up and helping us get this stuff on the table. All right, thanks a lot. Have a great day.